sure to compare to all these guitars here?
Hi everybody! I'm with my wife here, and we're just having a cup of coffee, having a chat. Let's see, so what are we chatting about today?
Well, I had this, let's try to clue them in what's going on here,
so,
right? So I had this crazy idea of starting a podcast with you.
She wants to start a podcast,
A type of podcast.
A sort of podcast.
Is it a video cast?
Okay.
Because, let's say, every time, you know a lot about music, obviously you're a musician, and every time a song pops up on the radio,
yeah,
and you always have so many things you know about it, so many little stories, so many...
yeah, I don't know nothing else. I don't know anything else, but I know music.
And I think it's really interesting. So why shouldn't we start filming all your knowledge about music? Okay, so it's almost Christmas, right?
It's almost Christmas,
what day is
guys.
Today?
I don't know. We got about 5 days till Christmas. The 19th. It's the 19th.
It's the 19th.
We got 6 days till Christmas.
Excited about Christmas?
I'm very excited about Christmas. Very excited. When you have kids, when you have kids, it's really exciting for Christmas.
Yeah, things are different.
Christmas is fun.
So exciting,
it's
something
like when
to
you're a
look
kid.
forward to. Yeah, you always. So we've been driving around pretty much every night looking at lights, at Christmas lights, and we had the same CD playing in a car. Do you want to tell us which one it is?
Okay, our Christmas tradition CD is Chris Squire's.
Do you have the cover right here? Do you have
Swiss Choir. Do I have it?
Sorry, we're just looking at the endless collection of vinyls.
I don't know if I
CDs,
can find it. I'm not sure if I can even find it.
No.
All right, guys, I have found the CD, guys. I'm gonna give you a close up. Chris Squire's Swiss Choir. This was released in 2007, guys.
And what's funny about it is that it's a CD that you didn't know about.
I didn't know about it.
Chris Squire fan.
I'm the biggest fan in the world. I'm the biggest Chris Squire fan in the world.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that.
I didn't know about it for a long time.
Yeah, it's a seasonal CD.
If this was released 20 years ago, this would be a standard by anyone's standard. But the way things are now with MP3s and all this stuff like that, music kind of gets swallowed up and just kind of falls in the cracks, and all this wonderful masterpieces just kind of...
That's really good. I mean, the choices of songs...
Yeah, this is a masterpiece.
The choice of songs in the CD...
It's not your typical jingle bells.
Yeah.
It's got like really traditional, I think, English Christmas songs that go back probably hundreds of years. I don't even know.
Yeah, there's some songs in Latin too.
Silent Night's on there. Okay, you know that. Ding Dong Merrily on High. You might know that. The Three Kings. And of course, the greatest Christmas song ever, Run with the Fox, which was recorded way back in 1981. But he includes this on this record. It's a great, super cool record. I definitely recommend this to anybody. Wait, the only bad thing is it's not on vinyl. I don't normally play with these silly things. Vinyl is where I go. But
how did you get into loving his playing?
Okay.
How did you get to
when I was about, let's see, I started playing bass when I was about
because it's one of your biggest bass influencers, isn't it?
I remember reading a Guitar Player magazine in 1980. I know that for sure now.
I wasn't around.
Geddy Lee was given an article. There was an article with Geddy Lee in it. And he was mentioning... So you already knew about Geddy Lee at the time, correct? I was a huge Rush fan.
Okay.
Big time in the Rush.
So his choir comes later in the picture.
Yeah.
Good to know. I didn't know that one.
And he was talking about his favorite players and mentioned Chris Squire from Yes. I remember at like stores like Kmart, which I don't even, is there a Kmart still? They sold Yes shirts, like with the logo and stuff. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it meant. Anyways, so I found the album Tormato. I thought, oh hey, wow, this is that guy that Geddy Lee's talking about, Chris. I put on the album. No. I found a cassette. It was a cassette. Okay, a cassette tape. I put it on, and it was the weirdest music I've ever heard, with the weirdest singing.
So it didn't quite latch.
I didn't like it at all. I heard about 30 seconds of it, and I go, this is really corny. and weird. Well, I didn't get it because I was into Kiss, I was into Aerosmith, you know, Rush, and
So who was very popular at the time? How many albums did they recorded by then?
well, they were big. So you kind of
didn't discover
popular.
them at the very beginning like you did with Rush. You discovered them a little bit later on, right? I mean, with Rush, you discovered them at the beginning of their career, but.
Well, yeah,
yes,
if you want to
consider,
1978 late, I guess.
Well, they were already into their career, like they were big.
Yeah,
already,
they were in their heyday, as you want to say. They were at their peak. They're playing big arenas and everywhere. It took me a while. I listened to a little bit of it and I kind of set it aside. And then I got it out a few months later and I started listening to it. This is really weird. And I started hearing the bass in it. I started hearing a lot of the bass. And then...
How old were you again?
I was probably 11.
Wow.
And I started hearing how great the bass playing was. They're very technical and they're progressive rock and stuff like that. But I started getting you gotta get it. And I understand why people can't stand them. I totally get it. I get it. But once you kind of get into the zone with it and you kind of understand where they're coming from. Actually, the first song...
I do. I am sorry.
The first song I actually understood...
I don't have any other choice, right?
...was Don't Kill the Whale off Tormato. I started getting there and I go, oh, this is kind of a catchy song. This is kind of a simple-ish kind of song for them. And then
Do you have the album you're talking about?
Yes. All right, so this...
Hi, Dennis. Wave, hi.
This is Tormato. Oh, no, you see it there. This is a great record, 1978.
Oh, I get the joke.
Tormato, yes. Tormato.
Yeah.
Has a
Brilliant.
tomato being smashed.
Awesome.
This is a great record. A lot of people consider this one of their worst records. It's one of their best records. The bass playing is amazing.
I mean, it got you into Yes, and then some people
it's just one of those ones that some people don't really... I don't know. The band themselves are kind of funny about this record.
Who's in the band right there?
This is Steve. You got Steve Howe, John Anderson, Alan White, Chris Squire. Anyway, so after this album, I went back and got this album, which is on my shirt right there, the Yes album. Okay, this is great too. There's so many good classic stuff on it. Everybody knows I've seen All Good People. Yeah, but it's got some great stuff. Starship Trooper. Awesome.
Which one is it? Oh, the one that lasts forever.
Yeah, with Worm at the end of it, lasts forever. It's awesome.
That's when it usually drops me off a target.
The thing is, when you hear this stuff, when you hear this stuff, you realize that that's where Geddy Lee got his whole vibe from, with the really kind of raunchy, distorted bass tones.
So was he playing Rickenbacker at this time? What bass was Chris Squire playing?
Chris Squire always played a Rickenbacker.
The whole time, his whole career.
Well, there's a song in here he plays a jazz bass and a Thunderbird on this record. But basically, it's all been his Rickenbacker. Very similar to that one, actually. Okay, after I'm getting these records out, if you don't know this record, Yes, Fragile, with Roundabout, Heart of the Sunrise. Oh my gosh.
This is still the same formation, right? Same Yes, same...
Yeah.
Everybody.
This is the classic lineup. The bass playing on this record is so amazing. The Fish, which is all bass.
So did he change his style? When
No,
put more
I
bass?
think he's kind of was improving on what he was already doing. By this point, it doesn't get much better than that. And this is considered the first progressive rock sort of
so are
album.
you showing them in order, or
Well, kind of, yeah. Yes,
okay,
album
so
came out
this
first.
comes
Fragile.
After Fragile. Okay.
Okay, so this album here is really an important album to like geeks like me who like progressive rock. This is by many considered the first, record like that. Records like Caress of Steel, 2112, Hemispheres wouldn't have probably happened if it wasn't for this album, okay?
Just so they understand the timeline, at what point were Rush?
Okay, this was 72.
Okay, so Rush came out with what album right now?
No albums yet. They came out with...
So Geddy Lee's just listening to Chris Squire in the meantime.
Well, they were playing. No, they were playing bars and stuff, and they were into Yes. They were into Yes, and then Led Zeppelin and stuff like that.
But they weren't Rush yet. Okay, I see.
No, they were Rush, but they were about 2 years away from an album. So, anyways, Close to the Edge. Yes, Steve.
Hi, what you doing, girl? Is that what's really going on when mommy didn't talk?
Okay, so back to Close to the Edge. Yeah, this is a very, if you're a geek like me, this is a very important record. The bass playing on it is just so super duper cool.
Better than Fragile?
No, it's not better. These two records,
Okay.
these two albums right here are the core of what Yes was about. These two records right here. This was the two perfect albums that you would consider. I think one of the first times one side of an album was 20 minutes of one song.
Wow.
Girls love that.
Did you feel that Rush got the same idea
From Yes.
Yes?
Absolutely, absolutely. So when Rush started doing 2112, they were very much influenced by Yes. Okay? Tales from Topographic Oceans. If you're a complete geek like myself, then you love this record. You love it. This record this came right after Close to the Edge.
Wow.
Anyways, by this time, Close to the Edge,
Wow.
they filmed the movie Yes songs from this tour, which is a super duper cool classic. Like I said, if you're a complete geek like me, you totally worship this album. This was sort of the tipping point for a lot of people because it's two albums and each side is a song. So it took me a while, but once you listen to it, well, you have to listen to it several times. I actually play this record in the house, and somehow I get away with it. But there's great bass playing on it. The keyboard player, Rick Wakeman, quit the band.
Why?
Because he didn't feel that they were getting the good stuff. He felt that they had enough.
Pleasing people.
Well, he felt they had enough material for one album,
Oh.
not two. Which, as a fan, I have to disagree. I mean, as a fan, I disagree. I know where he's coming from completely. There's some times this is a heavy duty fan listener thing. You gotta really.
Okay, what would it make you
Be
quit
into
the
it.
band though? You sure there's
Because there's time, you know, he
It's
thought it was
just
boring. He
generation.
thought it was boring, and I understand where he's coming from. But as a fan, especially all these years later, now looking at it, especially, and I've loved this record for years, but this is something that not your average rock fan is just gonna eat up. They're not gonna get it. So after that album, they went and did their solo records. Chris Squire made the awesome Fish Out of Water album. I bought this when I was probably about 11, 12. It's a great record. The bass playing's awesome. He sings great.
So it's not just an instrumental.
No, it's not the singing on it.
does
Hold Out
sing.
Your Hand is great. Kind of popish song. Lucky Seven's a really great song, and the time signature of 7, which is really cool. It's an awesome record. Love this record. When I saw them
Interesting
play a few years right before he passed away, I was lucky enough to have him sign the album. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Chris Squire is one of my heroes. One of my biggest heroes.
And actually, the night that you went to
Yeah.
watch him, it was the night that they filmed the DVD, the live DVD.
That's right. You can see me on the DVD.
Yeah.
Total geek. Total geek. So anyways, my love for Rickenbackers
Hello for you.
comes from a couple guys. You know, Paul McCartney, of course, played Rickenbackers. Geddy Lee, Chris Squire, and actually John Entwistle in the early days
You played Rickenbacker too?
played a Rickenbacker. Not very much, but enough that it influenced other guys to get a Rickenbacker. In fact, I think Chris Squire was a fan of Entwistle and also Paul McCartney. This bass actually is my Chris Squire tribute. After he passed away, this bass was a red Rickenbacker that I had for many years, and I refinished it and cut all the brass on the front. It's shiny and cool looking, huh? Chris Squire actually played with a pick most of the time, but
I didn't know that.
yeah, he's a pick player.
Why most of the time? What
Well,
about
I would say 99% of the time. I mean, very little. It's just his thing, and he was great at it.
Why did you play without pick?
When I started playing bass, well, it seemed to me like you weren't really a true bass player if you play the pick. Okay,
Wow.
and that was, but at the same time, this is my favorite player. I met Chris Squire years ago in the '90s at the NAMM show. He briefly endorsed carbon basses, as I did for many years, and he was at the booth as I was. So we're sitting down. There were some chairs that need to be moved or something, and
That was the moment.
my moment of fame with him was, Barry, would you mind handing me that chair right there? Moving that chair right there for us, would you mind, Barry?
How did you
Yes,
feel?
yes, sir, Mr. Squire.
Oh.
Almost as funny as when I went and got Billy Sheehan Taco Bell.
Yeah,
of course.
that's another story.
That was really cool. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna put a link down below if you want to check this album out. Okay, do it like the old school days, guys. You can't
No,
you can't fall in love with music that's really great in 1 second. Okay, you gotta listen to it 3, 4,
Give it a
5
chance.
times. That's why vinyl's cool, people. Because
you put it there and you were forced
because
to listen to
it
the whole
turns
thing.
like this.
Yeah.
And you put it on and you listen to the whole thing, okay? I was really upset when I found out he passed away. He's been a part of my life as a musician for my whole life. And I play the way I do and sound the way I do because of these guys like Geddy Lee, Chris Squire. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah.
Check out some good music. We'll talk some more
Put the
later.
links to all this music he's been talking about.
All right.
If you want to check it out, and yeah, leave your comments, leave questions if you have any.
If you have any questions
Yeah.
for Ariana, leave them in the comments. They always go like that. Leave them in the comments below. All right, give us a thumbs up, subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Bye.